That's actually a target for majority of the folks in IT to get a project, maybe Australia or Canada, where you have more chances of going on site, rather than waiting for UK or US, where it's very difficult to get a visa, right?
Right. You come on F1 visa, and then once you graduate, you get something called as
Mhm.
OPT. Is that correct?
That's correct. So yeah, also you have limited days to find a job once your degree ends. Okay, so it's like
Hmm.
90 days. It's 3 months. So I did my internship there, and they converted my internship to full time role. Okay. So actually, they offered
Nice.
me, they offered me two positions actually, data architect and product owner. So data architect is seriously a good thing. Now I feel like I should have accepted. I had 3 months to find a job, and I had though visa for 1 year. I had a couple of options. I could study again, get day one CPT. So that's something that which allows you to work, or you can work full time and you can take weekend classes Saturday, Sunday, right?
So, welcome to yet another episode of the House of Royce. Today, we have with us a very good friend of mine. I call him Sid, and he has been in US since many years. I do not recall how many years, and we will learn from him as he introduces himself. And the idea of today's podcast is that we want to talk about Sid's journey into US and how he navigated through the job market over here, what he currently does, how has been his experience through the ups and downs of his professional life. And we hope that with this conversation, the viewers and the audience would get to learn when they think about getting a job in US. So, with that quick introduction to today's podcast, let's begin the House of Royce. So, Sid, let's start with your introduction. I know much about you, but it's better for you to introduce yourself today so that you give us a clear picture about who you are.
Right. Hello, everyone. Thanks, Subi, for having me here today. So I'll just give you a brief introduction about myself. I start in reverse chronological order. So currently, I'm working as data product manager with SiriusXM, and it's been 8 months recently. And before that, I was in healthcare. I used to work as product manager for Athena Health and Commonwealth Care. And before that, I did my master's from University of Connecticut. We call it UConn, and I did it in data analytics and project management. The course name was Business Analytics and Project Management, but it's much like data analyst, similar course. And prior to that, I had 5 years experience in back in India. I used to work as data engineer, data analyst for Tata Consultancy Services. And prior to that, I did my engineering and information technology from Bhopal Oriental Institute. So it's like I have always been in IT. I have always been in a technical role, and so I felt like at some point I had good managerial skills and I can maybe lead a technical team. And in India, it takes a lot of time to get up there, up the ladder. There's a lot of competition, so it's a easy way to escape to go abroad, do masters, and get a job here, right? So that's what I did, and I wanted a managerial role, and I got into product management. So that's something I'm proud of. Like what I came here for, I'm doing that thing. So yeah, and the market has been pretty challenging recently. I understand that, especially after high rates of inflation, and we have seen in like post COVID, the market hit and back in especially last year 2023. So yeah, the journey has been pretty rough recently, but it's been ups and downs, and a lot of things happened here. And I did a lot of things here for the first time in US, so that's something to cherish throughout. So not just for the time being, I'm here throughout my life, so that's a good thing. I've always enjoyed doing new things, and we don't have much snow sports in India, right? So like skiing and ice skating, I did it here for the first time, then second time, then third time. So eventually I learned. So it's been good here. So though no complaints, like it's always people's perspective, why people moved abroad. You have, if you get the same pay, you want to come back. So there are always questions around that. But it's more like, it's everyone's perspective, what they want, what's their roadmap of their life looks like, basically what they need from their life. And like, so it depends on a lot of those scenarios. But yeah, there are a lot of reasons, and I'm pretty sure you might have a lot of questions for me, and which we'll go through this podcast and we'll discuss about those changes and technological roles. So yeah.
All right, great. So I have zero understanding of the engineering uh, kind of
Right.
jobs.
You're
All
from
right.
biotech. Yeah. Right. I know. Yeah.
Absolutely. I was never into that engineering aspect of any degree, so I have no idea. But I know that a lot of my friends would go into engineering because they had this clear idea that, you know what, I'll get into IT and then I'll go offsite. All
Hmm.
right. And
Yeah.
then in India, at
That's
least
so
when I was
true.
graduating, going offsite
Mhm.
was like a big thing. Go to offsite, earn a lot, and
Yeah,
then maybe
that's
you
that's
settle in
actually
that
a
particular
target
country
for
and you come
majority of
back.
the folks. Right, right. That's actually a target for majority of the folks in IT to get a project, maybe Australia or Canada, where you have more chances of going on site, rather than waiting for UK or US, where it's very difficult to get a visa, right? So yeah, that's what
Yeah.
majority of the people target. And I actually went through similar kind of journey. So I
Mhm.
was earlier I was in a project in I was working for a project in the UK. I will not name the name of the project, but I was
Sure.
like shown as an experienced resource because of my good communication skills to clients, and client used to feel like I have 4 years of experience, and then I was just a fresher with 1 year of experience. And then I thought like the client wanted me back in UK at that time. That was back in 2015. But there's certain rules and organizations. You have to be at certain title to get that visa and certain things. So it was ITA in TCS at that time for 4 years. So I changed my project after 2 years and joined Australian project because I again wanted to go to onsite, right? So that was has been the target from initially. So yeah, that was the whole point. Even I have been through the whole through that same journey, going on site. And a lot of my friends, if I look at school friends or college colleagues or people I've been with back in Mumbai or back in India, I mean, 10% are 10% of those working in IT are easily on site. More than that, 10-20%. So it's a big portion out there. Seems like there are good opportunities. India is, of course, the IT backup of the whole world, supplying resources throughout the world. You'll
Mm.
find Indians and Chinese in every corner of the world, right? So it's like uh, IT strength. So I feel like yeah, there are more opportunities there. That's true.
Got it. So you came to US again through a similar route in the sense you came on site through your organization in India. How's it?
No, no, no. So
Hmm.
my visa, which I was to supposed to get back in 2017, I got it in 2019 of Australia. And meanwhile, some of my school friends were preparing for GRE and course, and they're looking for business analytics course here. So I prepped during that time, and I got my visa and exams and everything. And I thought, like, why not try and study, because it's something like that will add to my portfolio, right? Rather than just going to Australia and working as a resource there. So I thought I'll give it a chance. Why not have a good master's degree that will add to my entire portfolio, right? So yeah, at that time I moved here in 2019.
Got it. So you came. So I have a very little understanding of how the visa thingy works. What you're saying is that you gave your GRE and then you got into some master's program
Roughly,
in US,
right? Hmm.
right?
Yeah,
So when
right.
you come over here, you come on J1 visa,
No, it's F1 visa. It's student
F1.
visa.
All right,
Hmm.
right. You come on F1 visa, and then once you graduate, you get something called
Hmm.
as OPT. Is that correct?
That's correct. So some colleges have STEM OPTs, which basically means you can work. There's a STEM extension. So STEM OPT is for 3 years. Part so F1 visa is for 5 years. 2 years you can study and 3 years you can work if you have OPT extension. So that's like F1 visa for 5 years.
And what is this non-STEM OPT then?
So it's like non-STEM OPT. It's like 2 years you will get work visa and 1 year you can work here, and it depends on your job. And if your OPT gets extended, then you have to go back and get it stamped again, even for F1 visa. So it's like for 3 years compared to OPT STEM, which is basically for 5 years, 2 years extension. So plus one
Ah,
plus one.
okay,
Yeah,
okay. So when you graduate, you get this OPT.
right. So it's not something like when you graduate you get OPT. So it's like when you start working, basically there are different kinds of
Ah,
visas, right? If you're an immigrant. So for example, if you start working on an internship during while you are working in college, right? So there's a CPT, which is yeah. And then for if you're completed your college degree and then you're applying for full-time roles, then there's OPT. Okay. So it's like post pre-training and like pre-training, something like that. I don't recall the full forms exactly, but that's CPT and that's OPT. So OPT you get it for 2 years, and then OPT extension is for plus 1 years. So that's how you work for 3 years on your OPT STEM.
Okay, and in the meantime, you are working with your employer to make sure that you get into H1B, correct?
Right, right, right. That's correct.
Mm.
And so basically, it also depends whether you are a spring candidate or you're a fall candidate. Your number of times you get H1B attempts, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
for example, I came in fall. I had 3 attempts. So, for example, I graduated in December 2020 and started working in Jan 2021. So I had like H1B chances in 2021, 2022, and then 2023 because my F1 visa is supposed to expire on February 2024, right?
Right.
So yeah, so it depends. And if you're coming in spring, and if you graduate in spring, then also you'll get 3 chances. Yeah, and sorry, my bad. If you come in fall, then there are 3 chances. If you graduate in, but if you graduate in summer, then you'll have 2 chances. For example, if you start working or if you get a job after March, okay, anywhere from April to August, because you can start working maybe after summers, your semester can end at summer, right, or after spring. So then you'll have only 2 chances. So
Right, got it.
yeah,
So basically, earlier you get a job near your start of OPT, and
right,
just before your H1B lottery, it's better,
right,
right?
right, right. That's right.
Okay, okay, interesting. Now, before
Also,
I get
also
into, yeah, go on.
Yeah, also you have limited days to find a job once your degree ends. Okay, so it's like
Mm-hmm.
90 days, it's 3 months. So if your OPT starts, once your OPT starts, okay, and you don't have a job, then you have 90 days to find a job, or else you'll not have any visa. Okay, so that's also one thing.
Wow, interesting. Anyways,
Yeah.
before I delve into the job market in US and your journey through the same, let
Hmm.
me try to understand the economics of Indians going for on-site jobs. So tell me one thing. I know for sure that you get more pay when you go for these on-site jobs as compared to the Indian salary, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
is that salary equivalent to the salary of what you will get if you are working? I mean, let's say you would have come on-site to US, all right?
Mm-hmm.
Would
Right.
that salary be equal to what you now get or not what you would get after your graduation from postgraduate you're attaining the master's degree and then you taking a job over
Mm-hmm.
here? Do they
Mm-hmm.
match or is there a big discrepancy?
It's fairly less. I would not say there's a big discrepancy because if you are studying here and working here, like there's a broad range, right, where you can enter into that segment, right? And if you're coming on an on-site role, then you start from the bare minimum. Okay, I do have friends here who are here in on-site in US. Okay, they are from Infosys or some other companies, Tech Mahindra,
Sure.
staying here from past 5 years, 8 years, 11 years. Like, and I do have my relatives as well, but they have studied here, and like some have been born and brought up here. So, but the thing is, yeah. So sorry, what were you talking about? I just
So what I was
yeah,
trying to understand was, is there a big difference in the pay grade
this salary.
when you
Yeah,
come
okay.
via on-site or if you take a job de novo by studying in US and then entering the job market?
Fairly, there's a difference, and there's an observable difference. Okay, it's not like yeah, it's not like great, but it's very much better. It's of course better than what you're getting back there in India, but
Mhm.
yeah, it's not same. Yeah,
And
that's
somebody
what I
who
learned
comes
from my
on
friends.
site for job, they come on what visa?
They also there are different visas they in which they can come on. Either they can come on H1B. It depends on the company which is sponsoring their visa. They can also come on J1 visa and L1 visa. So there's L1 visa as well. For example, I was working with Athena Health, and I was reporting to a manager who was not a part of US office. She was from India, but she was from India on L1 visa. Okay.
Mm.
So with L1 visa, I feel you cannot switch to jobs. You have to stay with the same employer. But with H1B, I think uh, you can switch employees. A lot of people have done that. They come from TCS and Infosys on H1B and work for the client, for example, Wells Fargo, and then switch job in Wells Fargo and just stay here. So a lot of people do that. So that's
Got it. Got it.
advantage
I'm on L1
H1B
visa, so
over.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So you cannot switch jobs, right? That's my
No,
understanding
I
as well,
cannot.
right? Yeah. You have to stay with the same company, right?
I have to stay with the same company, or if I want to switch a company, then that company will have to send me back to another India or maybe another country. I work over
Right. For
there
stamping.
for a year,
Right.
and then they can apply for
Right.
L1. But
Right.
generally, it never happens. You cannot switch in L1.
Right.
Okay, okay, great. So, so that's the reason why people go on site. It now makes sense. All right. So you did not come on site when it comes to your US job or in
Yeah.
US. You came directly over here, did your masters, and then you went through that visa process. You came on F1, and then you went for you had your OPT, and then you had
CPT.
this three
Yeah.
chances of getting your H1B. So, what was your first job immediately after your after your master's degree?
So I did my internship as a business solution analyst intern at Commonwealth Airlines. It's in Boston actually.
Mhm.
So my first company was here in Boston, and I was so I did my internship there, and they converted my internship to full time role. Okay. So actually, they offered
Nice.
me, yeah, yeah, they offered me two positions actually, data architect and product owner. So data architect is seriously a good thing. Now I feel like I should have accepted since you're not from ID. You don't, I mean, not much into about it, but
No.
yeah. So it's completely pure technical and it's like the architecture, data architect, but it's completely different hierarchy. So I accepted product owner and I joined that company from January and I was product owner for member applications. The company used to expedite claim process, government, claims and healthcare plans. Used to work on that. So I was member applications, as in patients. I used to manage patient portal and things like that. So
Hmm.
I worked for them for a year, and then I got a better opportunity. I got a call from Athena Health, and they offered me product manager position. And it was in Watertown. Technically, it's in Boston, but it's a
Sure.
different city, right? Yeah. So it's like, so I joined it, and yeah, I was the product manager there for for collector page. It's like claim processing screen. I created a website there. Did some cool stuff there, and I stayed with them for 1.5 years. And I had to leave them because last year, back in February, there were a lot of layoffs, and unfortunately, now I feel maybe fortunately, I don't know. I was part of that phase, so I got laid off there, and
Which year
after
was
that,
it?
this was 2023, last year February.
Last year. Oh,
Yeah,
interesting. All
that's
right.
right. That's right. That's right. Yeah. So the company was pretty good because like first year I went to India, I was working in US timings, but second year, since they had offices in India as well, I was literally working in Indian timing from 10 to 7, 10 to 8 in Indian timing, and I stayed there for a couple of months there. So yeah, I had those liberty to work with the development team there and keep continue on projects. So
Okay. In the
yeah,
meantime, what happened with your H1B? I mean, you got your H1B.
no. So my H1B was not picked with because first year it was not picked with Commonwealth Airlines, and second year my H1B did not got through Athena Health. Okay, so this was my third year, and I mean I wished I was lay off before or after 1 month, but this was a critical time because March is the time when your visa gets picked, right? So when I was laid off, I had my visa for 1 year, but I have limited options. Like either I
Right.
can opt for because for immigrants you are on any visa, there's a clock running always. Okay, so be it on any visa, you know that you're also an infant, right? And I'm on H1. Be it any visa, dependent visa, F1 visa, J1 visa, you name it. There always be a clock, even for unless and until you have GC or
Hmm.
citizenship. So Yeah, so I had 3 months to find a job, and I had though visa for 1 year. I had a couple of options. I could study again, get day one CPT. So that's something that which allows you to work, or you can work full time and you can take weekend classes Saturday, Sunday, right? So it's something, but it's too exhausting, right? And since you already have your master's degree, you don't want to study again, right? I mean, it depends. From there, are a
Mm.
lot of people are doing that. So I know people from Yukon whose visa did not got paid after 3 years continuously, and some people
Wow.
went to Canada. Yeah, that happened. For example, one of my friends, she was working in Salesforce, and her company did not allow even CBD, so she went to Canada, and then her company will again try. Similarly, one of my friends, she was also working in Target, and her company gave an option to either go to Canada or they were not allowing D1 CPT. But some people are continuing with D1 CPT. It's pretty common. I would not say a major portion, but I would say at least 5 to 10% of people of that whole master's group that comes to here, 10% easily. I would say 10 to 20% because they
So
opt for D1 CPT.
people who exhaust all their chances when it comes to getting picked up with the H1B lottery, they either go back to India or they
Right.
go for this day one CPT kind of program.
Right. That's right.
So
So
these are the only two alternatives you have,
I mean, there are other options as well.
right?
For example, people work with consultancies. Okay,
Uh-huh.
so I've seen like a lot of people, and even I did that. I started working with the consultancy because uh, you have your job, and they look out for projects, and they look out for your visa. Okay, but again, with them, it's no guarantee, right? It's a lottery process. You never know what's going to happen, right? So with them also, it's not surety like your H1 will be approved, but there are chances, like there are like equal chances, like fair chances, like you have in your corporate company. Yeah, it's similar to that.
Yeah,
So
no, no, no. So again, the options to me are only two, no? If your H1B is expiring or it has got, let's say, all your chances are done and
yeah,
your visa is or your OPT is, let's say, expiring next month.
okay, okay, then
Okay,
yeah, then you have to
all
work
your
with them like
chances are
for
gone.
yeah.
Now you go for either you go back to your country or you go for day one CPT, correct?
Yeah, but D1 CPT also, it's not you can start anytime. It's like there are proper colleges and batches, right? There are limited colleges first thing, and then there are batches that start either
Hmm.
in spring, January, or fall, August. So if you want to start or do D1 CPT, you have to plan. For example, if your visa, for since we were graduated in fall, so our visas were expiring in February. So if my visa is expiring in February, uh, for example, if I did not had H1B, had I did not had H1B, my visa would have been expired by February 2024 this year, right?
Hmm.
So, for example, in that case, I would have been, if I have to plan day one CPT, I should have opted for a college again, started studying from this January, this spring 2024, right? So that I do meet all the needs.
Got it. So you have to plan well if you're going for the day one
Yeah, you have to
CPT
plan. Yeah, you have
option.
to plan for everything. Yeah. If you
Else you
whether
have to
you
go
want to
back.
study or what, yeah, visa situation you're going through, you have to plan that. You have to at least try to communicate people in similar boat or have been in similar situations, or because it's very common. If you look around, there are a lot of people with similar problems.
Hmm.
It's like one of the most common issues, right? Visa problems. So yeah, a lot of people go through it, and people exhaust all the options. You won't believe me, I have seen like in my master's program only, like there were like 132 people, and like there were like 60 70 Indians, and I know 5 to 6 people who are doing day one CPT, and I know 2 3 people who went to Canada. I know 2 3 people who went back to India. I know some people who moved to different countries. Not everyone is here, right?
Got
So
it. What is this Canada thing?
so the thing is, if your company's office is in Canada as well, which majority of companies does, right? All the big companies, or blue chip companies, or even small trade companies, because it's part of the same, like North America, right? So if they have offices in Canada, they send you to Canada, and then they apply for your H1B again. So you stay in Canada for maybe for a year or 2 year or 3 year,
Got
till
it.
the time your visa gets picked up here, and then you're back in US. So And a lot of people, you won't believe me, go to Canada, get Canada citizenship, because if you have Canada citizen, you can enter states anytime and they, stay in states like that. But yeah, so a lot of people opt for Canadian citizenship as well, because it's easy compared to getting a GC here, right?
Oh, okay.
And
Okay.
my GC
Yeah.
process was also started in Athena, by the way. So my I-140, the first thing is preempt. Okay, so though unfortunately my H1B was not picking in lottery, but my company was looking forward to give me a GC. Okay, so they already started my process. Like I submitted the preempt request, and my I-140 was start to initiate. I had to initiate I-140, and once you have your I-140, you cannot switch company during that time for 1 year. But once you have your I-140, then you file for your GC, and then you will be in that queue. So it doesn't take much time after that, 3 to 5 years maybe. But yeah,
Hold on. Your H1B now got picked up. That's what you're saying.
yeah, it got picked up in 2023. But I was telling you, while I was in Athena, they filed for my GC.
That's
So
what I wanted to understand. So without your H1B getting picked up, you can file for GC?
yeah, that's right. Without H1B,
Oh,
you have to be on a valid visa. It doesn't have to be an H1B. For example, I was on F1 visa, like I was on STEM OPT, and I had my visa for 3 years, right? So even if you are on F1 or J1, your company can file for your GC. Okay, so that depends
oh,
from on
interesting.
your
I didn't know that.
organization. Yeah.
Ah, and so let's say if somebody is coming on OPT, I mean, somebody has got OPT, okay,
Hmm.
and his H1B is not getting picked up, but the company applied for GC, which means that they would have filed for perm certification
And then
and
I-140.
uh, and then I-140 and then I-485.
Mhm.
Now, if the perm certificate, I know perm certification takes a lot of time for Indians and the Chinese,
Right, right.
but
At
let's
least six
let's
months.
say it how many years it takes nowadays?
For just for perm or
Just for
for
perm.
I-140? Perm, it takes 6 months to a year easily. It depends again on a lot of things. Your past companies, you have been here in US, and it depends on a lot of things. It takes 6 months to a year. It's different in different companies. And
All right.
I-140 takes easily 1 year to 1.5 year, maybe sometimes 2 years. So this whole process
Okay.
is really lengthy. Yeah.
So worst case scenario, 2 years over there, and then 1 year for your perm. You got 3 years,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I'm theoretically, if somebody has just graduated and he has just moved on to OPT and his company immediately applies for GC,
Mm-hmm. Right.
then by the time his OPT is expiring, it is very much possible that his I-140 is approved and he has filed for I-485,
Mm-hmm.
which means that he can then get EAD without ever getting H1B.
So the thing is, technically it's possible, but it's not feasible. So the time
I
duration
know.
throughout
Yeah.
this process may take 3 to 4 years. Okay, let's
Yeah.
say you were a student, you were working on F1 visa, and your H1B never got picked. But since your company is filing a GC application, you have your preempt, you have your I-140, you have your last thing, you're waiting for that thing, but you need H1B. You need a visa, valid visa. Even if your process is running, this process does not count as a visa unless and until you have your GC. Okay, so if the process of GC is going on, still during throughout that process, you need another valid visa to stay in the country, stay in US. For example, it can be F1 or it can be H1B. So I
So
have a
in
similar scenario with one of my friend. So he's Pakistani, so they have more chances, you might be knowing, of getting GC, right?
sure.
So
Yeah.
his company also started GC application for his, okay, and his visa did not got picked in first attempt, second attempt, or third attempt. So he got unlucky there. But so he's doing day one CPT now. He opted for day one CPT, and he has to maintain again for 2 years. And his company will again file for H1B, because this whole GC process takes longer, right? They start they technically, it's not possible to for any company to start from day zero unless and until they
Of
promise you
course.
that, or
Yeah.
you are a you're excellent resource. First they'll see your work for 6 months to a year, and then they'll
Correct.
invest in you, right? So that's one way. So easily the process takes long, and you have to look for another visa once your F1 gets
Hmm.
done. Again, come back on F1 on day one CPT, or look for H1B opportunities.
So in between, if something goes wrong, you go back to India, your GC process gets cancelled.
No, again, it depends from company to company. So
Mhm.
technically, your GC process can still go on. Okay. So I had this discussion with my manager. For example, if my H1B does not get picked and my GC process is continuing and the filing is all going smoothly, what will happen in that scenario? So they suggested like we'll send you back to India because they had Athena office in India as well, and Bangalore, Chennai, and Pune. You work from there, and then we'll file for your H1B from here, and then meanwhile, till the time if H1Bs, I get unlucky every year. I'm just giving an example for 5 consecutive years, maybe for 10 consecutive years. Though no one gets unlucky that much, but I'm just giving you a scenario. Still, let's say after 10 years, I get my GC approved. So technically, I'll be a US citizen after 10 years. Even after staying in India for 10 years, then I'll come back. I mean, it's up to me whether I want to come back or not, but I'll be a US citizen technically.
Cool. Okay, tell me one thing, just for the guidance of the newcomers who are planning to come to US, what should be the bare minimum salary if they are coming to Boston? I mean, below which they should
Uh,
not come. I mean, below which it's complete no-no for a single
I
guy.
mean, yeah, I mean, for Boston, if you are a master student, I mean, that depends. Undergrads, you might start earning from 50K, 60K, 70K something. But for masters, you can expect more than at least 80K, okay, 80K to 100K for a fresher, I'm saying. And I mean, there were some people who got like 70s. And yeah, so anything above 75, 80K would be fine. Yeah.
It is good to survive.
Yeah, it's good to survive. I mean, you can even survive at like 40K, 50K. It's not that, if you live in suburbs and it's not that
Mhm.
survival thing, but that's considered a good pay for a master student. But yeah, I've seen some people like, so in my scenario, the salary range is pretty wide. If I look at my batch, the salary range is from, I believe, 65K to 200K. That's the
Mhm.
range of our batch. Of course, it depends on how much experience you had because some majority of the people were freshers and they were like 2 to 5 years of experience. Some people were like 8 to 10 years of experience as well. So like they get 150K plus and like they have more. But yeah, so that's something they should
Interesting.
target. And there are portals like in Glassdoor, and you can just Google it. You'll get the salaries of different roles in any company. For example, if you're targeting data engineer in CVS, you can just Google it. What should be the salary, and then you can look for that role. And majority of the people, there's a trend setter coming. If people are coming for data scientist roles, machine learning, AI, with AI coming into picture, I've seen a tremendous increase, exponential increase in data science students, huge influx. So with AI coming into picture, a lot of people want to do AI courses these days, right? uh, how to anything that relates to AI, machine learning, data scientist, and of course, software engineering is an evergreen branch. There are other
Got it.
people from data backgrounds, yeah, data analysts, data engineers, software engineering. But I have seen a lot of people coming in for data scientists and AI course related courses.
Got it. Got it. All right. So I never asked you about this. So you have a family back there in India, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Where are they? Tell me more about them.
So they are in Sagar. It's a small town in MP, and
Mhm.
yeah, I have stayed there till my schooling, and then I it's been almost 14 years now. I left my hometown, so I studied from Bhopal, and then I stayed in majority of my adulthood was in Mumbai, and I worked in Mumbai. And at my family, I have mom, dad. I have two elder sisters. I mean, they are in different cities. One is in Ranchi, another one is in Indore. Both are like government employed. One is like a branch manager in Bank of Maharashtra, and another one is
Mhm.
a professor in government college. So yeah, pretty decent life there. I mean, yeah. So that's what you miss. You miss about India is like friends and family, and it's like career and lifestyle here. So it's like a big two things. What do you want for yourself? So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm happy. I have cousins and I have extended family here. I have extended family back in Caramel, Indiana, and I have cousins back in Cali and North Carolina. So yeah, we meet sometime either for Thanksgiving or Diwali, and do our do our stuff here. So it's good to have family away from home, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
you don't feel alone in that way.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, how often do you go to India?
Actually, every year. So I did not go to India just during COVID times when we were not
Oh,
supposed to fly, right?
yeah.
Back in 2020 and 2019 and then 2021. I think I did not go for 2 years, 2020 and 2021 because of COVID, and then 2022, 2023. So last I came back was last year, February. So yeah,
Interesting.
this year.
And
Yeah.
uh, so, what's your plan? You want to settle in US? You want to go back to India? What are
I
you
mean,
thinking?
it depends because even if I feel like I'll go back in after a couple of years, you get used to a certain lifestyle and routine
Sure.
that you fear to acknowledge it sometimes, right? Because you feel like, no, nah, I'm just going back. It's not a thing for me. But then later you realize that you not belong there, right? So I'm not sure about that. I plan to go, but let's see what happens there. And I mean, it's important to have friends and family around. You can live in any country, any city. It's what is important that keeps you binding in your emotions is like you need people around you, right? So I also feel like people who come here to study and then settle or work, they have like a lot of friends around because they make friends in schools and colleges, and it's easier for them compared to people who come on site only to work. Okay, for example, I see my friends unless and until I mean they came here as bachelors and then they got married and something, but they were pretty alone. Like they didn't had much people,
Mm.
apart from the colleagues. So they had limited colleagues, and it's different here. The work culture is different here. It's not how your colleagues are back in India, right? It's different here, right? It's completely different. You don't drink. I mean, you go out on Fridays here as well, but you don't pretty much do a lot of stuff, right? It's the culture here is different. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you. I think my view is that the earlier you come, the better it is. The later you come, it becomes a bit difficult for you. One,
exactly.
uh, I think if you are coming later, what happens is that you haven't had enough years to build the
Mhm.
relationship with your friends over here, right?
Right,
And then, but the problem is if you come earlier, it's very difficult to for you to go back then because then you would have
yeah,
lost all your relationship back there. The
right.
more time you stay away from them, weaker
Mm-hmm.
the relationships become over a period of time.
100% correct.
So yeah,
I
and
have seen
financially, I think
people.
it. Yeah, go
Yeah,
on.
sorry to interrupt you there. Like I have seen like young people directly coming after schooling from India, like 21, 22, and then doing their masters. They have no clue how work experience is there, how to work there. They have no clue how the corporate world operates there. They just moved there.
Yeah,
They are never going back. I'm 100%. I can write you on a paper. They're
sure.
never going back. That's what happens. But of course, I mean, big thing about if you look at the sooner the better. I would 100% agree with you on that because. Yeah, you can give a kickstart to your career, and then like you can plan because there's a lot of time for you to plan. If you already at a middle stage in your life and you have a family and everything, then it's pretty difficult for you, right? uh, it's actually not difficult, but it becomes difficult with family to change things, change places, change career paths. You have to be more bold. It takes a lot of boldness to do things, right? To change paths. So yeah, the sooner the better. I agree on that, and yeah, you'll have more opportunities there.
And I also think financially also it makes much more sense because the earlier you come, whatever little you are earning, you will still be having very much less needs as compared to a person who is coming with a family, right?
Right.
And over a period of time, there is this compounding effect of whatever you have saved, and that's happening in dollars. So, for example, for
Yeah.
me, whatever I saved in India, I saved a lot to be honest in India. I had
Hmm.
decent salary in India, but when you compare that to US, you are just dividing it by 80, and then you realize that it's nothing. It's literally nothing whatever you have
Literally
saved
nothing.
because
Right.
you cannot translate or use that in US. Whereas if I would have come here 20 years back, even though technically the salary would have been less, but because it's in US dollars, it's actually there is an equivalence in terms of whatever you are saving. Right now, the
True.
savings whatever I have in India is great for India, but that is not equivalent to helping me out over here. So it doesn't make sense. So I've lost on
Yeah.
that compounding part, which I would have done if I would have come earlier. I mean, I don't have any qualms about it. I honestly I do not know whether I want to be here for a long time.
Yeah.
It all depends. But
Yeah.
anyways, you
Right.
have a girlfriend?
Yeah, I do have.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So tell me about your social life. What do you do?
So I'm quite a social person. Since we are in the same group, we meet pretty often, at least once in a month. We have
Right.
been meeting since past 2 years. Since we go out for a lot of activities, like laser tag or X throwing, and I've been part of this cricket group. And it started as a summer activity, but you won't believe it. Even in like -5 degrees Celsius, we are still going out and playing there. Last Saturday we did
Yeah.
that. So yeah, usually on weekends I'm pretty much occupied. It's great around here in summer because you can go for trekking and you can do a lot of activities outside activities, right? But even in winters, I don't feel like staying home always unless and until it's storming out there,
Mhm.
right? A snowstorm out there. So yeah, I also went on a winter hike. I think last I went on was 25th on Christmas. Yeah, Mount Madnock, and then
You went
maybe
for
I'll be
that?
doing. Yeah, I went with. Yeah, I
How
was
long was
there.
it?
So Mount Washington is like 5.4 miles. That one was like I think it was 4.5 miles loop. So it wasn't that hard at all. It wasn't a hard hike, but since it didn't snow before then till then, and but it was pretty cold. So we had thin sheet of ice across the trail. So people were skidding. So it was difficult, a little difficult, but it was good. For
Oh, I
example,
didn't
if
come
we
because I thought it was too tough.
yeah, I mean, this one is going to be too tough. That's going to happen on 25th. This one is Mount Washington, and I'm pretty sure it will be covered in snow. It's like 5.8 miles one side. So, yeah, 2 miles. You can
Luckily or
take
unluckily,
Cog
I'm not there.
Railways.
I'm in Sweden at that time.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, so socially, I go out to play pool a lot. And yeah, and then keep myself occupied, busy because here you have a lot of time. And so my first two jobs were like hybrid. I used to go office. My current job is completely remote, so I stay. So every day I feel like going out. At least I go to gym, or at least I go to walk or a run, because you just cannot be in a room throughout the day, right? Especially
Right.
if it's remote. So yeah. Uh,
So in IT, how is in general the work-life balance compared to IT jobs in India? Is it similar? Is it worse? Is it good? How is it?
so it's good and bad in both ways. Okay. So
Okay.
here you have complete set of liberty. Okay, as in you're free to do whatever you want. Okay, and you're completely responsible for your work. That's what I've seen it here compared to India. Okay, and it doesn't matter. You don't have to be online from 8 to 5. No one cares. You just do your work. No one cares if you're taking leaves. No one cares about all of these things. Like you're posting on social media, you're drinking. No one cares about your social media anymore. You just complete your work and you're good.
Sure.
And yeah, that's what happens here. So you have to work, and then I've seen managerial roles. Maybe I was not a manager back in India, and here I am, so I haven't felt it there. But it's
Sure.
like only managing people. That's what mostly happens there. Okay, but here, since you might be talented, that's why you're a manager, but you have to do your work too, like everyone else is doing. You have to complete your all the things that your whole team is doing. You have to work on that, and apart from that, you have to manage your team.
Managed
So
team.
that's
Yeah.
something your additional responsibility, which I haven't seen in India. Maybe it's my perspective because I was just a team member at that time. I started working there, and as I got experience, I built it up here.
Hmm.
But yeah, and another thing, there's always big teams in India, right? For example, whether you are in development team or support team or testing team, at least 3 5 people around here. I have worked in teams ranging from 5 people to 15, 20, 30 people's, okay, back in ID projects there. So it's like you'll never be responsible. It will always be the team. If anything bad happens or whatever happens, or like taking decisions on projects. But here it's like two or three team members, or sometimes during COVID times or during layoffs, you're the only one who are reporting to your, for example, I'm the only one manager reporting to my director, and managing lead analyst. So I have to take care of a lot of things. It's not just like managing things or managing some work. It's like equal participation. So I also feel like there it's more like since they are supporting more support projects, they're supporting applications, supporting banking, financial applications, or commercial applications, or healthcare from there, right? Either they are building a platform or giving maintenance and basically maintaining the platform that they've created and scaling it for the other companies. That's how they're making profits, right? So that's what I've seen there. And here it's more like there you'll always have a set of responsibilities which are assigned to you. It's, I mean, of course, up the ladder it will be different at the leadership level, but down the ladder it's like you have limited set of responsibilities. But here it's like you do have limited set of responsibilities, but then you can always optimize the process. You're free to scale a process. You have to keep on building something new, or developing something new, or improving something, optimizing something. So I feel like challenges are different. It's not a same thing that's happening. Okay. So that's
Interesting.
what I've, yeah. I mean, I'm not, that's my perspective because I worked in junior roles there,
Sure.
and I'm kind of a mid-level role there. I'm like 8, 9 years experienced. But again, for the leadership, it's same everywhere because I've seen it in my family too. You'll be pretty much exhausted. You won't have time for your family if you're director and above VP. Definitely
Right.
your wife will be pissed off, your kids will be pissed off. That's how it works everywhere, be it India or US. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
same globally. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so no, it has been a nice discussion. A lot of things I've learned from you today. Tell me one thing. A lot of people who come from India over here struggle with language, and I wouldn't say they struggle with language, but they have this phobia that, you know what, I don't know English. What will
Mhm.
happen? Or I'm not great with English communication. What will happen if I come to US? I personally think that's nonsense phobia. But anyways, I wanted your perspective. Do you think it's really important for you to be fluent with English for professional and social success in US?
Uh, I don't think so. I mean,
Hmm.
fairly, it's a good point. It's a valid thing to have because it's a communication thing. If you know a language, you're communicating, and if you're communicating, you are sharing things, doing things. It's easier, right, without
Hmm.
communication. But again, let's talk about two aspects here: professionally and socially. So socially, you might not be involved in that group, right? Like where you have to use that language. Like, of course. Lot of communities, and I've seen people staying with their own communities. That's pretty common
Yeah.
with everyone. It happens. So there's no language barrier there. I've seen people. There are a lot of Spanish people here who don't know English. They stay here, right? I've seen them. I have met a lot of people who don't know English and they know some language, right? So surviving is not the question here. Definitely not the question here. Let's talk about if you want to succeed at a level, right? If you want to succeed somewhere, then communication is the basic thing, like that comes handy in every profession. Be it of a politician, you need a good orator, to survive and get votes, or you need to be, if you want to be a good corporate leader, again you have to good on communications. You can express, you should not have stage fear, like these things. And these are not some things that can be overturned in a night. It takes your whole life, entire life, to build up to these things. Personality is something that cannot be built up in a day or two. It takes a lot of time and efforts and consistency. If you want to improve something and if you're working towards it, it might take longer, but you will achieve it. You have to be consistent. You have to give time for anything, right? So originally, back to a question, definitely not knowing English is not a question of survival, because I've seen people knowing different languages, not knowing even, and doing good professionally and socially. But it's always good to have that. And but I have not seen people struggling with that. As far as I remember. Yeah, maybe people who come on site, there might be some people like that, because people who come for masters, they prepare. While preparing for GRE or TOEFL, you have to give TOEFL or IELTS, right? So that's an English language exam. So that means that you are efficient in that language. So people by default know that. even for, I think, even if people are coming for on-site, there might be scenarios you are techie, but you're not a good communicator, you're not good with language, right? That can be a scenario. And I've seen examples of that. People in my undergrad, they did not had a good language, and but they were really good with technically. They were really good coders, and they had a really good command on coding languages, but they were bad in communication skill. They did not get a real good start of the career, but they're doing really good now. Majority of them, either they are in France or Spain or maybe US or UK. Yeah, they're traveling around the world,
Hmm.
irrespective of the fact that they knew English. So it depends how strong you are in other things. Maybe you are super strong in some other things. So it's just it doesn't matter. But yeah, but it definitely helps. If you know it, and because it's good medium to communicate, and it's easier. It will make your life easier for sure.
Got it. Got it. No, quite interesting because I think this phobia remains a lot for people who are in India, because in India, at least, you are looked down upon if you are not
Yeah,
fluent with English. And I think it's a
yeah,
social problem with India. We are still slaves of
exactly.
our own history. Before we end today's podcast, I really wanted to have three things from you that you would like to tell our audience that they should remember for sure if they are planning to shift to US from India.
Okay, okay. So first thing I would say is build your you know build your group first thing. Like be socially active. Try to have, be active on LinkedIn, create your profile, and reach out to more people. It's very important to to have connections here, because it doesn't work like in India. And of course in India connections work too, everywhere in corporate connections work. And but here majority of things works with connections. So make connections, and try to connect with your seniors. If you're going through a student program, try to connect with people from the same similar background, and try to know about their experiences. That will help you better prepare for your own experiences, and how to foresee things, and have a plan, like what you want to do. Have a plan. Like it's not something you want to study something and do a job something. You always need to be specific what you want to do. Ask question to yourself, where do you see after yourself in 5 years. What do you want to do, or if you're doing something, whatever you are doing, what you're doing it for, what are long term gains from it, right? uh, are you getting anything out of it, or apart from making money? Of course people do things to make money, but what's the end goal here, why you're doing it? How this job that you're doing or that you're planning to do add values to your life. Create space there. Think about this, right? That's the second thing I would tell to them. First thing will be networking. Second thing is
Planning.
think, planning. It's very important. Have a plan. And third thing I would say, don't stress, because I've seen a lot of people in a lot of different situations. You won't believe me. I have seen people deported. I have always seen people struggling with their visas, and like things happening and out of the night, and unknown things happening, but everything can be worked out. Just don't stress. Believe me, everyone has been in your shoe, and felt and experienced those things. So once you start working, once you start studying, and then you start doing part time, and then you do internship, you'll find a job. You'll do some struggle. Everyone struggles. It's not, and everyone has some set of struggles in their life. It may be big or small for you, but just don't worry, don't stress. Stay connected with your family, and yeah, you'll do really good. Just enjoy. I mean, just be here if you want to be. Just don't stress it out. Just don't do it because others are doing. Like they are here and you want to be here. If you definitely want to be here, if you have your friends and family here, see the bigger picture. Just don't jump into decisions in short duration. Look at the bigger side. What do you want to do in your life? End goal. Lot of things. But yeah,
Sure.
yeah,
All right. So three things for the audience. First, network well. Two, plan well. Three, take it easy. That's what I
yeah,
would
yeah.
take as summary from
Thanks
what
for
you just
summing it
said.
up. Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. And finally, before ending, I would like to ask, how did you like today's conversation? What was your feeling?
It was pretty good. I felt like we are having a normal conversation. I would have got my beer from fridge, but I just thought we are not sitting in a pub and having this conversation. But it was pretty genuine conversation, and I
Yeah,
really
we should
felt
do
like I
sometimes.
was
No, in
speaking
the
to you.
pub, I really think we should have these conversations over a beer. I just do not. I'm
Yeah.
not technically sound. I do not know how to
I
set up
mean,
those cameras
we
and
we
all.
always have conversations. We always have conversations, but it's about something else. Maybe it's not
Yeah,
that productive or constructive thing. But yeah, but we always have conversations.
yeah.
What's
So that's what
important
I
is to
said.
have fun. Yeah.
This podcast is all about having the same conversation what we have, but try to make it meaningful for the audience so that they pick up some things which they might it might be useful for them. That's the whole idea
Right.
of this
I
podcast.
feel like it's very. I feel like you are giving a means to people who are sitting back in India and learning, how things are happening. Because when I was back there, there's a lot of rumors and false informations which are not correct. If you're sitting there, we feel like if you don't have this, you cannot do this, right? There are like a lot of lot of things and statements which are vague. We people there don't know about things, what exactly what's happening here, right? So it's
Yeah.
always important to reach out to right people, get their experience. So I feel like with this platform you are helping a lot of people look at other people's perspective and learn and plan their journey out. So I feel like this is a really good platform for them.
Let's see. It's still quite a early phase for this
Sure.
podcast as whether it works out, whether it's really helpful for everyone or not, only the future is going to tell that.
Yeah.
But we will keep having conversations. The idea is to
Sure.
enjoy, right?
Yeah, of
So thanks
course.
a lot. Thanks a
Life
lot,
is all about
Siddhesh. It
fun.
was great talking to you. Thank
Same
you
as me.
for sharing your thoughts. Thank you.
Same here, Subir. It was great talking to you, and I enjoyed your podcast. And best of luck. Thank you.